Guess some old business, action items, life safety items, capital improvements.
So there are no, I have adopted budget, so the life safety capital improvements, no updates. See, we're just doing punch list items. The tennis courts were painted on Saturday afternoon. The 3 spots that had to pass the flood test. So they were flooded on Friday afternoon. They passed the flood test. They were painted on Saturday afternoon. They were re-flooded now with the paint on them, and I believe out of the 3, 1 still has to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It didn't drain within the hour according to the
tolerance.
So they'll add some additional patch and additional slope, and then they'll flood it, paint it, flood it. So we're still going through the punch list process on that. The additional windscreen, that's for that one section on Hollywood Avenue. That's missing at the construction meeting today. It arrived again. This time it was not the right length. It was 7.5 feet instead of 9 feet. So we were told that an emergency, it will be shipped out, and we should have it by early next week, and it should be installed. It takes less than an hour to 2 hours to install it, and then that will complete all the windscreens around the perimeter of the courts where appropriate. The roof is complete as far as coating is concerned. We're just working on roof ladders and some final tin work, and so that punch list item will be scheduled. That punch list walkthrough will be scheduled within the next week or 2. So, in regards to the summer of 2017 projects, we are wrapping up. The only other outstanding issue from the tennis court parking lot project is the bioswale. The bioswale is the wetland or wetland-looking like area between the tennis courts and the parking lot, and we need to work on the depth of that wetland, and they're working on that with the subcontractors and whether. No, between the parking lot and the tennis courts, there's an area that's trenched, and it looks like there's dandelions growing in or yellow flowers.
It's a natural floodplain.
That's eventually going to become a rain garden. That was one of the requirements we put in with the village. So all the water from the parking lot flows into the bioswale first. It gets held there, it gets cleaned there, and then it flows into the vault, and that's how it moves out through the vault. But we have the cubic feet in regards to where the structures are in the center of the 2 bioswales are on the punch list, and the contractor and the engineer are working through that. Once that is completed, we'll then replant and put the mulch in the bioswale. But that's the only punch list item I'm assuming will take longer than a few days to address. And so that should be completed here in the next 2 weeks or so. There is one parking space in the parking lot that, you know, if you notice, there's some curb cuts so that the water can get through and drain into the bioswale. And when we're laying this out and it was striped, there's one curb cut which exactly lines up in the middle of a parking spot. And so a small car could possibly back into the bioswale. So to prevent that, we will be putting in a ballard with one of our bioswale signs that explains what a bioswale is. We have some signs made already. So that will be put in there so that a car can't back into the bioswale.
Why did they miss the pitch on the tennis court the first time?
It's not that they missed the pitch, it's just how fast it drains. So the tolerance that was spec'd is that after a rain event, it has, any time that's over 70 degrees, it has 1 hour for any puddle to be less than the depth of a nickel. And so, I mean, you're talking, I mean, to the human eye, we wouldn't know, so, but I mean, if there's a low spot in the asphalt or not a strong enough pitch at the end, because the tennis courts, the 4 tennis courts, all drain into the bioswale as well. Only the 1 tennis court flows into a trench drain that actually looks like a sewer. So, so after they patched it and flooded it again, 2 of them drained fine. There was one that still had a puddle that was slightly larger than the depth of a nickel. So we have to add a little patch to that, pitch it a little more so that it rounds out.
Do we expect the patch to wear as well as the rest of the tennis court?
Yes, I mean, this is common practice.
Okay.
And whenever they install this happens for the first few times until everything passes the flood test.
Okay.
And if you went out there after Saturday's painting, I don't even know if you would recognize, where the patches were laid.
Okay.
If you were here Friday night for the football game, you could see where the patches were. There were large gray patches. Once that was dried and passed the flood test, then they paint it and they sand it and blend it in, and you would never know.
Okay.
Scott, did I cover, is that everything?
Mhm.
Facility for the life safety projects from this summer?
Yeah, and you touched on the roof ladders and the stairs.
That's all that's outstanding. Punch list, the roof's here in the next month. So, that's
All
it.
right.